Good morning, everyone. Looking like a busy day today. Market gapping up. Got a bunch of low floaters on scan. Right now, low float gapper scan. We've got EVGN, WINT, GELS, and MRIN. Again, market looking to break yesterday's highs. Very solid. Just to quickly review yesterday, two very solid morning faders. And, if you were here yesterday, we talked about, all of the Oracle real-time indicators. Remember, you've got the directional bias on Oracle, which is the long or short bias. That denotes whether the stock is highlighted in green or red. And then you've got your real-time price action underneath the ticker. And going into the open yesterday, literally every single stock was leaning red. And if you were on the webinar, I was like, hey, when we see that, that's our indication to really focus on 945. You can go back to yesterday's notes. It was a little after 9 a.m. I'm like, hey, everything's leaning red. Let's wait for 945 moves. And yesterday, we went over OMH as that morning fader. Again, if you go to the notes, I'm like, hey, just wait for the Oracle signal on this morning fader. Didn't hit the entry until afternoon. That's the great thing about Oracle. You get signals all day long. So OMH hits the entry of $1.07 at about 12:45 and went to $3, max potential move of 203%. And then KLTO faded all the way into 945. I mean, look at that price action. Just lower, sets that nice bottom right there, makes the turn, hits the Oracle signal post 945, about 9:50 a.m. at 86 cents, and high a day of $1.84. So the reason I bring that up is that's the plan today. Looking for the exact type of moves on all of these. And we've got a lot of low floaters. Like if I filter my Oracle by float, we've got 6 stocks that match that criteria: NCNA, EVGN, MEGL, WINT, GELS, and MRIN. Now again, I want you to notice that all 6 of these directional bias is long. That's what we want, especially for newer traders. And also, the real-time price action as of 8:33 a.m. is leaning bearish. So much like yesterday, we're going to go over the trade plans on all 6 of these stocks. But as of right now, unless this real-time price action indicator flips, it's telling you patience kind of day. So I'm going to take my float criteria back off just so we can see the full snapshot of the long bias plays. Now, even with the filter off, the only higher float stocks that get added are MGNX, CARM, which again, being a 40-cent stock, you look at the market cap, it's still a puny market cap, only 17 million market cap. So even though the float is a little bit higher, when we're talking sub $1 stocks, that's when you want to look at market cap, because it's not hard for a 40-cent stock to rotate the float, which you can see CARM has. So even though it's 36 million, it's so cheap that it's trading 68 million shares. And then we got another one, KLTO, obviously our friend from yesterday, just over 10 million at 12 million shares. And then you got, again, MGNX, which is 50 million float, but you notice only up 20%, but that's an indication, of the float. If you go at all of these other gappers that are all the low floats, you see 30%, 70%, 100%, 40%, 93%, etc. That's why we always focus on low floats. So let's run through the plans on these guys. As always, what I like to do is start with the most liquid plays. So every single day, day in and day out, you're going to look for the stocks with the highest volume, the highest float rotation. So what I like to do when it comes to ranking setups, looking for those box checkers, is I always want to start with the highest liquidity. Doesn't mean that's the number one stock, but when you got 7, 8 stocks to prepare for each day, you got to start somewhere. My recommendation is always start with the highest volume stock and then work down from there. So that being said, NCNA, let's take a look at the chart. 282 million shares traded in pre. That shows you how hot the stock market is. Sorry for the water boy impersonation. Great movie, by the way. But anyway, 285 million shares traded in pre. Now, what I love about these types of true penny stocks is we've got that major resistance level. And remember that all of the support and resistance levels are mapped out at 4 a.m. So you will very, very frequently see these stocks in pre-market test that resistance level and fail. And you can see that on NCNA. Now, something that a lot of people love to oversimplify, they think these lines move through the day based on the high of the day, etc. No, all of the support and resistance levels are based on the previous chart price action. That's why we use multiple time frames, the 5-minute 2-day, the 15-minute 2-month, and the 1-year 1-day. Those 3 time frames, which are what I recommend as your multiple time frames when it comes to interpreting the recent price action on any stock, you use all 3 of those. All 3 of those are programmed into Oracle. That's the beauty of it. You don't have to, basically, I would still recommend looking at all 3 time frames, but you don't have to because Oracle does it for you. So that being said, NCNA butted up against MR of 15 cents and failed. Not concerning. Okay, so sometimes when people say I butted up against it and failed, they interpret that as like a bad thing, etc. No, it's actually a good thing because with technical resistance, the more times it's tested, the more forceful the break will be if and when the break comes. Now, the other way I love to use these support and resistance levels is you've got that lower level at 12 cents, which gives you a very smart stop loss. So considering the volume on NCNA, you can wait for the Oracle signal, which drops at the market open, always the smartest play. But if you're more aggressive in pre-market every single day, you can use the support and resistance levels to build your trade plan for you. So considering the volume, love a channel, I call it a channel trade when we trade these channels. Love a channel trade. Whoops, I turned on my caps lock on accident. Of 0.15 by 0.12. Very tight stop, but if this breaks resistance, it should really go. Now, as I mentioned a couple minutes ago, safer approach would be wait for the Oracle signal into the 9:45 window. Both of those trade plans are valid. Safer approach, 9:45 Oracle signal. All right, CARM, again, a very liquid true penny stock. This was a runner last night, a big runner last night. Again, do you guys see what I just went over on NCNA? This applies with CARM as well. Little bit wider stop loss, but we're only talking 11 cents of risk on this trade plan. So this is literally a carbon copy, CARM, carbon copy of NCNA. Only thing different is the channel trade is 50 by 39. Much like NCNA, safer play, 9:45 Oracle signal. So the aggressive play on both these stocks would be the pre-market entry on the major resistance level. If you're more risk averse, the safer play would be the 9:45 break of the Oracle signal. KLTO, pretty impressive. Starting to set up as a morning fader. Oracle crushed this yesterday. We reviewed that a minute ago. Man, please fade into the open. and repeat your move at the Oracle signal yesterday. EVGN, textbook morning fader, Oracle signal into the 945 window. And I know some of these trade plans can get a little repetitive, but hey, if it works, why overcomplicate? WINT, kind of choppy, but looking to fade. 3 million float, had news this morning, 8 a.m. press release, 945 Oracle signal. MEGL, MEGL, many time former runner, also a fader. Love the morning fader setup. You know, you'll hear me, take a coffee shot. Many of you have heard this 1,000 times. What's beautiful about the morning fader is each day, we typically have about 5 or 6 of these. One about, typically, again, we got 5 or 6 of these. 1 or 2 of them will hit the Oracle signal. The other 3 or 4 won't. Those 3 or 4 you ignore. The 1 or 2 that hit, one of them will go bananas like KLTO or OMH. The other one will simply trickle higher, trickle lower, fade to the stop. So if all you do is trade morning faders, each day you're going to have about 5, maybe 6 stocks to watch. Then you're going to have 1 or 2 to trade. You trade both of them at the Oracle signal, day in and day out. One will make a move like KLTO or OMH, which will pay you out very well. The other one will just kind of perk, fade, go to the stop, small stop loss, big gain. If you do that day in and day out, trading 1 or 2 stocks, small loss, big gain, that's the path to profitability. You just repeat that over and over and over again until the end of time. You will be a profitable trader if all you do is trade morning faders. So MEGL, morning fader. Gels, morning fader. Guess what? They're racking up. What are we up to? We're up to 3 or 4 already. MRIN, they keep racking up. We're up to 5, I think. And MGNX, last one on, and there we go. So the top trade ideas are any morning fader that hits the Oracle signal listed above in the notes. Ignore the ones that don't hit, and also the channel trades on the true pennies, also reviewed above. All right, 15 minutes, we're done. We're ready for the day. We got 5 or 6 high quality low floaters. That's what I'm gonna focus on. You can trade whatever you want. All right, guys, just a quick recap from pre-market prep. So want to go over the only trade that so far triggered from that session. So that's the beauty of what we do on pre-market prep every day. We build trade plans that allow you to get ready before the move. The way I do it differently with Oracle is we use that tool together. It's not like a lot of these chat rooms, they buy stocks, they alert them, and then they sell to you. If you notice what I did earlier is every single trade plan was in advance. Like these were actionable trade ideas. Like I know a lot of you guys are used to getting alerts where the chat room or the newsletter, they're already in it. Then you get the alert and then, it spikes, you get sold to, you get bagged, okay? I do it differently in that every single one of those trade ideas were actionable after the webinar ended. So as of right now, CARM, if you remember, we went over 50 cents by 39 cents using the Oracle resistance levels. And then after I ended it, I ended at 8:45. About 2-3 minutes later, CARM broke that 50-cent level. And as of right now, it's at 80 cents. I'm too dumb. That's like 50% plus already. And it just flipped the next major Oracle resistance level. So now we're looking for even higher on this one. So again, I just wanted to give kind of an update, revisit from that session that I just finished. And again, out of the, we went over 7 or 8 stocks as of right now. Now more will probably trigger, but you can see how minutes later, actionable trade ideas using the algorithm that you can actually get in at that price instead of chasing alerts and getting bagged and sold to by the person that sells you the alerts. That's how I do it differently. That being said, if you're interested in Oracle or sessions like that every morning, hit the link below, check out the Daily Income Trader system. Would love to work with you every single day, 2 times a day.